month from the last time that we saw each other. I hope you've had a very good time. Thank you for joining me, ANYANGO, SYLVIA on the broadcast, and the whole Biashara Tuesday team, which is behind this production today. We are so excited. It's not just any other day, it's a day with purpose, because as a country, everything that we do is led by the leaders we choose as a country. And today we are having a very interesting conversation, and this conversation will be centered on youth, technology, and trust. And when I talk about youth, technology, and trust, this is about how we use technology, do we trust our leaders, and how best can we better our nation? And helping me unpack this conversation this morning will be Alo Danish, who is a youth leader and a bioscientist, who will be giving us youth perspective on how well we trust the government, how well can we use technology to our advantage. And also, who will be joining me this morning to unpack that conversation will be Kennedy Kamande, who is an AI researcher and tech policy strategist. So this morning we are bringing you experts and only experts, people who have done research both internally, presented their work internally and across our borders. They'll be shaping this conversation today, and we expect to know the truth about why Kenyans in the year 2023, you remember the partnership between Safaricom, the Kenyan government, bringing in the neon smartphones, why Kenyans rejected that. We are going to look at that, why that is happening. We're also going to find out why Gen Z does not trust institutions like IEBC. For the past 2 months or so, and the latest was on Sunday, where we saw Kamket, that is Tiati Member of Parliament, who said that kama kura hazitaja, tutazijaza. So is it, do Kenyans, especially the youths, do they trust the Independence and Electoral Boundaries Commission and every other institution that is headed by the government? We are talking about parastatals, we are talking about ministries. Do Kenyans trust these ministries? Also, we are going to answer the question, the growing alienation of youth in digital spaces. We've witnessed cases where youths are being arrested for their memes, for what they post online. How best can we handle this case in our country? How best can the security deal with such cases? So that is something also that we'll be answering this morning. If Kenya, how can Kenya still win the digital trust in its future voters? So those are some of the discussions that you're going to be having this morning. You cannot miss discussion. And once again, Kennedy Kamande will be joining us, and Alo Danish will be joining us this morning to have a look at those conversations. And also, it is a week that students, we are all aware that students are back at home. That is the high school students. So we expect to also help them understand how they can manage, or they can move about the social media and internet. How safe can they keep themselves? So if you're a parent, you need to keep your daughter or your son locked on screen for them to understand how well can they, take care of themselves in this digital space, because it's something that is inevitable. We can't say that we are not moving. I had someone say that atabaki kuwa analog, so that when everything has changed and everything has shifted, they'll be the only one left to be trusted. And what we are saying right now is that if you're not going to be having the skills relevant, or let me say AI skills or digital skills, probably you're going to be replaced by someone who knows how to use that. So your child at home, make them or move them closer to the screens. Also, we are shifting in a world where every youth is keen on getting an employment or finding a job. And on this show, we have said not once, for the umpteenth time right now, that no government can create enough jobs for its country. And this morning, we'll also have a feature that will be telling us, is the education system that we are having right now relevant in creating job opportunities for the young people? And with the current discussions ongoing in the country, some saying that, the country cannot finance free education anymore, and the other fraction saying that, those are just propagandas. The government will provide free education for all. Is it something that we need to be raising eyebrows on, because it's not just about a free education, it's about free quality education. And what you're seeing right now is just free education, but the quality is something else. So we'll be having a feature this morning also telling us how best can the government move forward in terms of giving its people free primary education and also free secondary education. We've also witnessed the Ministry of Education giving directives that the fee for universities to be reduced. We'll also have a look at that. And also this morning, we'll talk about the state of our nation. And when I'm talking about the state of our nation, for the last 1 week, we've seen discussions surrounding Chan, discussions surrounding the political stance in the country, that is the wrangles between UDA and ODM. And we've also witnessed a situation where Sifuna is really bringing shockwaves in the political space. And he says that he will read anything that is presented to him. He will read it as long as it does not read that he is supporting the president, that is William Samoei Ruto. So we'll also have discussions about the state of our nation, politics surrounding our governance right now, surrounding our education, health. We've also witnessed yesterday there was a launch of biometric identification that is in the health system. We'll be also be asking that to our panelists, how effective is this, and situations or conversations surrounding data protection. How effective will this be? So that is on education, health, politics. That discussion to help us unpack that will be our very own Blue Smile Hassan will be joining us this morning, and our very own also Ojuang Mariam. Most of you know him as Ojuang Mariam, but he's Vincent. So we'll be having that discussion that is on the state of our nation and a newspaper review this morning. And right about now, I want us to take a look at what is happening on the roads and the weather situation across different cities in the country. I mentioned earlier that students are back at home, so definitely walimu hawaendi shule, and you know it's a very interesting profession where you're assured of a 1 month break after every quarter, or after every 3 months you're assured of a 1 month break. So most people are not moving around, that is teachers, students, and situations are not changed as far as the traffic is concerned. We are witnessing slow down along Thika Road, that is from Old Soaps, that is Outer Ring Road, all the way to Pangani Interchange, and that affects those people coming from Kiambu Road. That is as expected. We've always witnessed that every morning, especially now that it's at 7:51 in the morning, all the way to 9 a.m. We'll see more of that. Another area that is always prone to traffic is the Eastern Bypass, and the situation is just the same. That is the Eastern Bypass Airport Road joining in to Embakasi, watu wanatoka Embakasi Pipeline, further joining to Eastern Bypass all the way to Nairobi Expressway, or those using Mombasa Road. There is a little bit, or not a little bit, there's quite heavy slowdown. Also those coming to join Mombasa Road from Imara Daima, your way also looked packed. And those who are closer to town, I'm talking about all the roundabouts along Mombasa Road. Those coming from Langata Road, those coming from, this is Haile Selassie Avenue, and also those using Kenyatta Avenue, those around the University Way, all the roundabouts along Mombasa Road, entering town, all of them. There is quite a slowdown or snarl up, as you may want to mention it. So that is on the traffic, the tributaries leading to town. Most of them I'm seeing traces of red, but no worries, they are moving because it's zimeachana, red, yellow, green. So it's moving. And as you wait for that, this is what it looks like when, as far as the weather is concerned. If I look at where we are right now, this is Nairobi. Taking a look at, let's begin with Mombasa, that is a little bit far from us. Right now it is 23 degrees Celsius. It feels like 25 degrees Celsius throughout the day, no sign of precipitation, and they'll be receiving highs of 26 degrees Celsius, that is throughout the day. If I take a look at another city, that is Kisumu, allow me to mention cities alone. If you take a look at Kisumu, it is 23 degrees Celsius, feels like 25 degrees Celsius, same as that of Mombasa, and they will be receiving highs of 28 degrees Celsius. That is Kisumu. If I take a look at another city right here, it is this is Moyale, that is far north. It is 24 degrees Celsius, feels like 25 degrees Celsius, still the same. So they'll also be receiving highs of 25 degrees Celsius, that is in Moyale. And those are just among the cities that you're having, and you're seeing a consistent of temperatures of between 23 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. So that means it is warmer for most parts of the country. If I look at a city that is probably always cooler than expected, this is Eldoret. It is 16 degrees Celsius, feels like it, and they'll be receiving highs of 22 degrees Celsius. So in Eldoret, they say, is it Eldoret or Eldoret? Whatever they say, they are receiving quite cold temperatures today. So that is just, and no sign of precipitation. That is through all the cities that I've mentioned this morning. No sign of precipitation. And not to forget where we are right now. This is Nairobi. Right now it is 13 degrees Celsius. It actually feels like it, but there is no sign of rainfall throughout the day, and we'll be receiving highs of 22 degrees Celsius. So that is on the weather this morning across different cities. I've sampled the coast, I've sampled the northeastern, the central region, yes, the central, and also the Rift Valley. Right now, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be coming with the discussion that I've told you about on youth, technology, and trust. And also, more is also coming after that interview, so you can't miss any part of it. But at this point, let's take a break.
Na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka, akawa tuzo. Ukakamavu wake, ukatii, na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke, akabaini jinsi ya kuweni. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari, kwa jinsi alivyo ng'ari-ng'ari.
Mimi ni mwanamke mwake.
Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake, nami Caroline Kimwele.
Are you healthy, or rather, do you maintain a healthy lifestyle? According to WHO, health is regarded as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. Welcome to Focus on Health, a show on all matters health, wellness, and lifestyle. On this show, we cover a wide variety of topics inclusive of, but not limited to, dental, optical, mental, reproductive health, and so much more. Join me, Joy Bofenda, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on KUTV for compelling insights and discussions on all matters health. See you then.
Focus on Health, your weekly dose of health and wealth information on KUTV.
the coolest questions in science.
Let's go!
Is yogurt really just rotten milk? Why do humans need sharks to survive? How did a 12-year-old boy from Africa invent modern vanilla farming? How do you deliver medicine to a chimpanzee? Can poop be useful? How can you save the planet by reducing air pollution? To help us answer these questions, we are inviting some wonderful guests from the world of science. They will enlighten you, make you hungry for knowledge, oxygenate your brain, and make your ideas flow. This is Engine Season 3.
Let's go!
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
The Bible says, when he spoke, then he spoke a parable to them, that men always ought to pray and not lose heart.
Christ says, I stand in the door and I knock. Whoever hears my voice and opens, I will dwell with him.
Like the moon, I will fade, but like the star, I will rise again. And though I fall, be rest assured that I will rise again.
Go to the hospitals, tell them that God will heal them. Go to the prisons, tell them that they'll be free. Go to the crusades and tell people that Christ is coming, and sooner than the word itself, the second advent is imminent.
Miti miti, panda panda. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On EarthCheck, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutosi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of EarthCheck. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mokwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated,
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
This year, North Coast Beach Hotel has exciting holiday offers just for you. Whether you're planning a July escape, an August family break, or a magical Christmas getaway. For July special, book 2 nights and get 1 night absolutely free, all for just 17,314 Kenya shillings per person sharing on half board, as you enjoy access to free swimming, a fully equipped gym, guided reef walks, and a complimentary sauna session for each booking. For August family offer, make memories with your loved ones at only 11,543 Kenya shillings per person sharing for a 2-night stay on half board. There's free family entertainment, fun indoor games, and lots of activities for children, plus a 10% discount on all extra services during your stay. For the December Christmas holiday, celebrate your festive season in paradise. Book before 31st October to enjoy our exclusive Christmas deal. Stay 3 nights between 23rd December and 2nd January 2026 at only 34,628 Kenya shillings per person sharing on half board. And for our flexible payment plan, take advantage of our Lipa Mdogo Mdogo and pay in easy installments. Call us today to book on 0722 209 458 or 0733 409 430 or email info@northcoastbeachhotel.com. North Coast Beach Hotel, your home in paradise.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
In Kenya with hope. In 2003, free primary education was launched. In 2003, free primary education was launched in Kenya with hope, applause, and a promise that every child. In 2003, free primary education was launched in Kenya with hope, applause, and a promise that every child, regardless of background, could access basic education. Over 20 years later, that promise is under pressure. On July 24th, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi told Parliament that the government can no longer fully fund free primary and day secondary education due to budget constraints. He revealed that the capitation per student had dropped from the intended 22,000 shillings to about 16,000 shillings, declaring, "We are living a lie when it comes to the sustainability of free education." Let's rewind. Kenya's free primary education program was introduced by President Mwai Kibaki's government. It opened school doors to over 1 million children who had previously been left behind. Later, free day secondary education followed, easing the burden on struggling families. But free has never meant entirely free. Parents still cover uniforms, books, transport, and lunch. Still, the government has footed a major part of the bill. So when the president raises questions about the current funding model, it raises concerns.
Askofu, tukijenga kanisa hii, tutakuwa na Sunday school. Mahali wengi wetu tulipitia. Pale mahali ambapo watoto wetu wanaweza kufundishwa neno la Mungu in their young age.
While addressing an education forum, President Ruto questioned whether the label free truly reflects the reality on the ground. He urged stakeholders to rethink how education is financed, saying, "We cannot continue pretending that education is free when parents are still paying so much out of pocket." We must have a candid conversation about cost sharing. His words sparked debate. Was this a warning, a policy shift, or simply a call for review?
Tumefanya mambo kadhaa to make sure that education is truly universal and truly accessible. Because the commitment we have is that education is the greatest empowerment that any society, any country can give to its young people.
Parents were quick to react. Some say they are already stretched thin and fear that increased costs could push their children out of school. One of us said, if they shift more costs to us, we might have to choose which child goes to school and which one stays home. Teachers too are concerned about increased dropout rates.
Mwai Kibaki was able to introduce free education and maintained and sustained. Uhuru Kenyatta's government did the same. But your administration comes to tell us recklessly that there is no money to continue with this free education.
Meanwhile, economists argue that the country's rising debt levels and population growth are making free education harder to sustain. But should the solution be passing more of the cost to parents? So, is this the end of free education or the beginning of a new chapter in how we fund it? The truth is, nothing has been officially scrapped. President Ruto has since reaffirmed that free primary and secondary education remains a constitutional right. But his comments and the government's current budget constraints suggest that the way we finance education may change in the future.
Niliwapatia wabunge wa Nairobi bilioni 1 kujenga madarasa mpya hapa Nairobi. Kwa sababu hapa Nairobi ndio tulikuwa na changamoto kubwa ya msongamano katika madarasa yetu na watoto wengi walikosa nafasi ya kusoma. Vile vile tumekubaliana ya kwamba mambo ya masomo katika university tumeongeza pesa ili tuhakikisha kwamba ile new funding model inahakikisha hakuna mtoto wa Kenya anawachwa nyuma, wapate wote nafasi ya kusoma.
As the debate continues, one thing is clear for millions of students: the classroom is more than a place to learn. It's a lifeline. And if that lifeline becomes harder to access, what future are we offering the next generation? Is it time to rethink cost sharing, or is it time to commit to the promise of education for all?
All right, now is the free education coming to an end? And do you trust the president? Do you trust that this is going to, that the billions that are mentioned are going to be directed towards the education system, offering young people of Kenya free primary education? So that is something that I'll also ask my guest here in studio. But before we get to that discussion, let's get this bumper. All right, now youth, technology and trust is a discussion we're having this morning. And helping me unpack this conversation this morning, I'm joined by two gentlemen. I'll allow them to make the introductions for themselves. Let me begin with you. Hello.
Good morning, and it's really a pleasure to be here. The weather is really cold, and my name is Alo Denish. I am a bioscientist by profession, and also a youth leader, having been engaged in several political activities. Besides other things, I'm a writer, a poet, and an author. So it's really pleasure to be here today to discuss this very particular topic. You see, we live in an era where power is no longer guarded by gates and microphones. Today we are in an era whereby just a tweet can spark a revolution, and live streaming, as we've seen, can topple silence. Yes, so what we are saying this time is that we're in an era of technology, digital technology, and what we are witnessing currently is an awakening generation that are really informed, backed by data, and that really know what they want. So these are timely discussion that will really help us unpack why there is a lot of distrust in public services, where technology is leading us, as especially the young generation, and what the state or the nation has to offer to the citizens. Thank you.
All right, that's quite an introduction. Ken?
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for having me. I'm grateful to be here once again.
Karibu tena.
My name is Kennedy Kamande. I'm an AI researcher and data scientist with the United Nations. More to that, I'm a tech columnist. I write for the various local publications. And more to that, I'm a tech policy strategist. And as my co-panelist has put it across, we are living in the digital age, coming at a time as a nation we've sustained protest from last year. And the main clarion call is that we cannot trust our government for our future. And that's why I'm happy for today's discussion that's centered around the youth, the various aspects that we're going to explore on the technology, the various platforms, and the trust that we have in our government, public service, what we are doing maybe that's being termed as rebellion, and the pathway forward as we head to the 2027 elections and all that's happening. And I'm happy to be here, and thank you.
That is quite bold, that we can't trust the government with our future. And on the same note, let me just, before we get into discussing what has really brought us here and what we have promised our viewers, there's a feature that has just run on, is education going to be free? Do you trust that the government can deliver? And how is this going to be affecting our future right now?
Down the memory lane from 2022, when this government came into place, it made a 5-pillar manifesto. It was voted in, and people had high hopes. But in less than 100 days, we had people started raising concerns. And along the way, we went to 2024, where we've had protests by our youthful generations. They've made their demands very clear. And part of the key issues as we talk of the education and why we don't have trust in this government, which is part of today's discussion, is because there's been that historical track record of this government, one, not living to its promises. If you look at the promises it made for the first 100 days, if you look at how the government came into place, how it found our economy and the systems in place, it's made life way even worse and harder for people, from economy to justices in terms of how, from our economy to our judicial systems, to the various systems that we have in place. And when it comes now to the education system, we cannot trust the government because, one, there are those reforms that the government is proposing. If you look at how Moi Kibaki down the history lane, when he started with free primary education from the times of our first president, Jomo Kenyatta, the attempts he made to ensure that the education is affordable and accessible to all, what he was able to achieve, what his successor Moi was able to achieve, and the landmark that President Kibaki, the late, was able to achieve, and the current president together with the former President Uhuru. We can't really trust this government because there are those reforms that they've made, they are proposing, but we've not seen actual implementation. And if people out there are raising concerns that, or educational officers are making, or those in treasury coming out publicly to mention that we cannot be able to fund this education, and then the president stands on the roadside and makes a declaration that we're going to implement this, for us as the youthful generations, we've seen a historic down the memory lane that there are those injustices from corruption, land injustices, and now injustices around education system, which, again, if you don't empower our future generations, then our future is doomed. So for us, we don't trust the government. We go back to the question, will this be implemented? Because if you look at all the concerns that are bringing all this mistrust to the youths, and whether the government is going to implement or even raise that capitation fee from whatever amount that we have right now, or we're even going to ensure we have affordable education system is one. We've not had our current government address the historical injustices, including the injustices in the education sector. Two, we've not had a good track record of inclusion of the various actors. You know, the CS just comes today and makes that proclamation that we don't have the money. The PS the following day, it's as if speaking a different thing. So we've not had that inclusion, and also inclusion of the key stakeholders, the youths, when all these discussions and all these reforms are being made. So for me, I would say that as youths, we feel worried. And that's why we are raising that awareness, to ensure that before we even get to promise us that you're going to increase that amount, first address the issues that are there in the healthcare sector, the injustices. Include all the stakeholders. And then we can probably start building trust that probably you'll achieve something, or you will.
All right. I get you. Hello, do you trust the government?
You know, it's even very sad and unfortunate that we are discussing education, and not just discussing it because it's doing well, but because it's at stake. We know that education is an equalizer. Yes, it brings together the children of the poor and the rich together. Me and you today are here because of the chance we got to study. And education is the backbone of our nation. It sets every system, be it the health, the doctors, be it the economists that run our country. Everything, the baseline is education. So if you talk about getting your priorities right, the first thing the government must not forget is the education of our children and our future and the young generation. Because you fail to educate the young generation today, you are raising a foolish nation in the future, because they will be living in ignorance. And what I think is the greatest challenge we have currently, I think it appears as if the government is acting on impulse. I don't know whether they don't have a proper planning, or they act depending on what they feel is right, which in real sense is not right. When you're talking about limited funds that can be channeled in the education sector, yet this current budget is where we had the highest budget we've ever had, to the tune of 4 trillion. The previous governments have been able to do this with a lower financial budgets. Then where is this 4 trillion going if we cannot get enough for the education sector? That means it is not the money lacking, it's the priorities that are not set right. When the government and the government officials appear in public rallies doing what you call empowerment funds, giving people temporary food instead of giving them the capacity to make lifelong income, then that tells you there is lack of proper planning and there are misplaced priorities. I refuse to accept that we have limited funds to manage our education system. And what I can only say, there are funds that have been misdirected into some unnecessary activities.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now, as we get into the discussion on digital trust, Kennedy, you've written that we are facing a generational credibility crisis in one of the write-ups that you've done. What do you mean by that?
We are the so-called Gen Z. And there have been different categories of trying to group different generations, Generation Alpha, Gen Z, and the different generations. But this current generation as Gen Z is mainly characterized by the digital age, or the digital times that we're in, the times of mobile phones, emerging technologies, and we've grown, or we are mainly characterized as a generation that's made up of 2 key things. One, boldness and courage. to question what we've seen or we've been able to hear historically, either working for the country or for our families, for our nations. So we have that boldness and courage to question, and not just in Kenya, even in other countries, you're able to see the young generations being able to question. And two is that our current generation of Gen Zs have the intelligence, they have the knowledge, they have the skills. And these two characteristics have made different countries, different systems, to being pushed into how we do things. And if you look at a good example of our country, Kenya, for the last 1 year, there's been push for one, our youth leveraging the knowledge that we have of the digital spaces, us as the digital population, leveraging what's within our capacity to inquire of the systems that we have. And that's where you find that the demands that the youths have been making across Kenya, and also if you look at in the case of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, how they've been able to topple their government systems. If you look at Tunisia, if you look at Senegal, Nigeria, how they've been able to change their political systems. They're all mainly characterized by these two key capabilities or of us as the youths. In our country, we've seen for the last 1 year how we've been able to sustain the momentum of the protest. When it started, the other generations, older generations that have maybe been suppressed, or they didn't really have that boldness and maybe that knowledge of the current generation that we're in, they even went to a point of calling us vijana wa uba and all those funny names. But well, 1 year down the line, they're now calling us for an intergenerational dialogue because they've realized that these people are not backing down. They're courageous. They will abduct us, but we'll still continue pushing for our demands and the reforms that we're pushing for. They'll try all means from a legal perspective to bring frameworks that will either dissent or to try to silence the people, both physically and online, but the people are still having the courage and using these platforms. We're being warned, oh, don't put our president and do all other things in the coffins, but well, at the end of the day, we're all trying the different means to put across our concerns that, you know, we can't trust this government for a future. And for us as the youths is because we've seen how these systems, like in our country, Kenya, how they've worked. If you look at like the current clarion call for us to have a dialogue, it's so that we can address the systemic issues that have been there from all those times. Like if you look at down the lane on the call for intergenerational dialogues from 1997 on IPPG, we now have all the way up to NADCO, to BOMAS that brought about the constitution, to now the intergenerational dialogue. It's because older generations have realized that one, we are not backing down, and we are standing for our cause. Whether it's the educational reforms, in the land reforms, corruption, leadership, we are standing for a future. And we are the digitally savvy people, and we're using all that we can. And as much as the government will try different strategies and means to silence us, whether it's killing us, whether it's abducting us, whether it's maybe deliberate sabotage on legal frameworks or whichever institutions we have, it has brought about that credibility crisis. And that's why you find that they even like right now, as we're heading to the 2027 polls, I'm aware of people and teams that are working to ensure that, okay, if IBC and other institutions that will take us towards having a credible election will repeat what historically we've seen from 2022 of a promising of a digital transparent election, but ending up with Kamagol cases of digital inconsistencies, portals failing, inconsistencies from 34A and opaque results, then in our own way as the youth, because we are digitally savvy, then we're going to have our own parallel civic infrastructure that will involve election, whether it's voting, whether it's starring, whether it's verification. So you find that these two key characteristics of us as the youth, of having that boldness to question, and also to using the digital skills and the digital spaces to build capacity is that we're moving not just making the protest and issuing our demands, but even now building. And what all this means is that it brings credibility crisis. If you like to look at just the case example of IBC, not that we don't trust them, but historically what we've seen and the demands that we're making, we believe in the age that we're in, we can push for reforms, but at the same time also use the technologies that are there to make you understand that if it's not your way, it's our way for the betterment of the future.
All right. Now, although we've seen increased government surveillance and censorship, how do you think this is affecting youth involvement in governance in terms of how they contribute their views, how they are part of the making of decisions? How does this affect their trust or their involvement?
Yeah, you know that the most difficult mind to control is an informed mind. And sometimes I do think that the highest form of liberation is mental liberation. What we are living in an era of information, and this is the greatest challenge the government is facing, dealing with a generation that is informed, backed by data. Look at it in the past, the dark ages where information could only be accessed through the mainstream media, which could easily be suppressed by government. Today, as we speak, information moves faster than the mainstream media. It's just a click of a button, the smartphones and social media everywhere. And I think the government of the day is finding it difficult to cope up with this, because most of the political elites are still conservatives. They're old class. They are finding it difficult to control the flow of information, which is, of course, currently beyond their capacity. And so they have resorted to some scrupulous social media regulations. What I can say is that any attempt to suppress digital democracy only widen dissent. The only thing that the government should do is to offer accountability. In fact, I can say that the young generation are not lawless. The only difference they have with the previous generations is that they are informed. The previous generations could conform because they didn't have the facts. Today, something happens and it's all over social media, and the government doesn't want it to spread, and they do all manner of things to try to curtail the spread of that information, and they find it that difficult. And so the youth are mostly concerned about systemic and accountability, be it the health sector, the SHA, be it the education system, just we have discussed now, every other thing that is not working well, with a government that promised heaven. If you look at even the opposition, the manifestos were, if at all we will only go by the manifestos, we don't need these things called dialogue. If at all we can only follow the constitution, we have one of the most progressive constitutions in Africa, so to say. If we can only decide to follow it, we don't need a dialogue. All right. Yes, we have some of the most the best independent institutions, ESCC, and so to mention, if they just decide to be accountable, we don't need a dialogue. Why we arrive here is we have a high level of systemic and accountability. Systems have refused to be accountable. Either they have been usurped by the executive powers, or they are full of corrupt individuals. And the government can only do what is right, other than try to suppress the digital expression. I think in this age and time, the government will have to contend because they cannot control. What we really need is service delivery, and the youth will continue to air their voice. You see, digital space has given the Gen Z and the young generation what systems and institutions have denied them, a voice.
We are talking about Gen Z often, but what then do we do with this a lot that has been digitally excluded? The ones that probably they lack internet, they lack smartphones, the ones who are excluded. What do we do with that group? Because it's a big group. If we are considering voting out our leaders or holding them accountable, it's quite a population that is digitally excluded. What do we do with them?
Yes, and you realize it is the same population that I can say maybe they lead us to part of the mess. Because now that the government is aware that they are digitally excluded, they have segregated them into tribal groupings. So you realize mostly this group, they vote not on merit, but on tribal ethnic extractions. So I think so far the digital space is widening. What we need is what we call civic education, and I think the young generation is doing it quite well currently on social media, WhatsApps, but this is also forming part of what the government promised, to widen our infrastructure, to leverage our digital space. They have not delivered on that. So you see, that forms part of what we are pushing for, to live up to an informed generation that can make decisions based on right choices. So especially in the rural regions, they have no information going on. They purely vote based on other factors that are really of less significance. Yes.
All right. Now, Ken, currently we have had continuous talk of AI. Everywhere you walk, you'll hear AI, AI, AI. Do you think Kenya is ready for it, considering we have deep fakes where some information may be distorted? We have images may be distorted, portraying different information. And in terms of ethics, do you think Kenya is ready to embrace AI?
Thank you. That's quite a key question. Yes, globally, we are in the digital age that's characterized by AI and other emerging technologies like of blockchain and others, but AI is really taking that precedence. And I would say if you look at African context, as a nation, we're among the top 3 in terms of, if you look at the 2025 AI Global Readiness Index. Last year, the 2024 report indicated Kenya's position 1, but by this year, we are position 2 on a drop. That's because Rwanda is really taking precedence, and it's because of some of the policies, pronouncements that the country is making that has made us a bit behind. But we're doing quite well in terms of ensuring that as a country, we're getting our people and our infrastructure and our systems ready to tap into the opportunities that are there. This year, in April, the country launched the 2025 AI National 2025-2030 strategy. But if you look at the current issues that we're facing and possibly we're going to face in the build-up to the 2027 elections, like the issues around how to tackle disinformation, more so around propagandas around elections and just in everything, the framework is quite promising. That's the 2025-2030 AI strategy. It's quite promising, but it also has its weak frameworks that we are criticizing and hoping that we're going to have a redraft. But again, that's a bold step because we are just among one of the 4 countries in Africa that have their AI strategies already in place. We understand that the ministry is also in the process of launching an AI Act later in the year, which maybe that's where they're going to enact more robust data privacy laws that will build up on the gaps that we already have in the Kenya National Data Protection Act 2019. So I would go on and on from a legal perspective. I would say as a country, from a legal perspective, we've made great strides, but there are also key gaps based now on everything that's happening in the country. And that's why if you look at the Data Protection Act and what's happening now around surveillance, and dissent and censorship across social media, there are no frameworks or clauses that really support or can be able to guide us as a country ethically. And that's why you're finding that the government is using the same act to silence us as the youths. You'll hear the president say, we should not create images that portray him in a coffin. But if you look at the same act that's being used to arrest and prosecute likes of Rose Njeri for civic engagement and building platforms, it's quite not clear. So from a legal perspective, I would say there are weak frameworks that can be strengthened again, we also building up on the promise of a tech-driven, transparent election build up to the 2027. So there's so much that can be done from a legal perspective. If you look at from an infrastructure point of view, the government is doing little to zero because our former PS, that's Abitang Ndemo, had a great visionary of the Konza city. It's now a fully fledged city that's doing nothing in terms of even incubating AI innovations. We have a government that has the Kenya National AI, a Kenya National Policy Challenge that basically brings together youths from different counties to come and try to tackle the various problems from the different counties at county level and use emerging technologies. But Konza City that should be able to incubate these solutions is as good as dead. So I would say we've made quite great strides. If you look at we also have policies that are also coming up on cloud and data storage infrastructure that are even attracting likes of Visa to come to Kenya, but they finally ended up in Johannesburg to launching their data infrastructure for Africa. But again, if you look at the different other aspects of, like, again, as it's been put across by my co-panelist, go through the digital economy agenda of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. It really promises so well in terms of ensuring, in terms of infrastructure, we have the digital hubs so that our youths can access computers, can be able to access affordable internet, the last connectivity of the internet in those rural areas. So there's so much we can really do, but I can say I would also give credit to the government a bit. There's the start we've made, but I believe building on the previous leaders that we had that are quite visionary and what we're doing as a country and where maybe we're channeling most of these billions, there's so much we can really do to tap most of the opportunities that are there for pressing problems from even the healthcare, the education sector. We've even seen now Kenya National NEC now wants to replace to have a NEC that will now be using, I think they launched a bill, Kenya National AI 2025 something bill, that will have AI powered systems for marking of exams. So we'd really say that from a policy perspective, we have some good policies as a country. But the leaders that we have in place and where they channel the resources to, I think that's where the key mismatch has been. But as a country, I would really say we've made great strides. And again, somehow now, because the government has realized that we are the Gen Zs who are leveraging on these platforms, and we are even building capacity on our own, not even waiting for the government to launch various programs. We've seen like most of our tertiary institutions now have master's degrees in AI, and all these emerging technologies. So our people are also, from a capacity perspective, they're able to learn and gain skills. Our president is promising us G2 ICT hubs. Hopefully we can see more capacity being built, people gaining capacity. So as a country, holistically, in partnership with different stakeholders, we are positioned too as in the African context, but we can do better than that because, again, we had visionary people who really set that precedence. And there's more we can do to really tap into the opportunities that are there to address most of the systemic challenges that we as the youths are really telling the government from the land. If you look at like Ghana, they have a very good framework on how they're using AI to address their land injustices. Look at Kenya. We have almost everywhere their land issues. So there are very many sectors in the country that we can really, if you're able to focus on the key pillars that the president really did promise in his manifesto, and also what's being done around infrastructure, building capacity, on research, because Konza City is as good as dead. And when they bring up new projects posed as good opportunities to help people tap into opportunity, into the AI and these emerging technologies, they end up as projects to benefit people. Because, like, if you take a good example of the AI 254 hackathon that's being organized by the ministry, it's a good initiative that where almost every tertiary institution in Kenya will bring their youths on board to address the different problems that they're facing using these technologies. But you look at the budget, you look at possible outcome at the end of how we've been walking the journey. I believe we can do more as a country, but we're on the right track, and I hope we can have better leaders, better systems, and so that we can be able to not so that other countries will not surpass us. Egypt is really coming up. Nigeria is doing quite well. We've now just recently, this month, last month, July, Visa was to launch. They had initial plans to launch their data storage infrastructure in Kenya, but they ended up heading to Johannesburg. I did talk of why other countries, why other institutions or other businesses are opting to move to Rwanda. It's because if you look at from a policy perspective, there's less of taxation, there's an ecosystem that allows research and innovation. We've all done this at gradual steps, but now the current leadership in place, it's just killing everything. So we've started it, we can do better. And
there's a saying that no tech is free, and this was pointed out to AI, that you might see that, okay, they're giving us this kind of website or this kind of for us to use, but in real sense they are feeding on your data. How true is that?
As my co-panelist did put it across, data is the new fuel of the digital age. And data is the kind of information that we are even right now generating data as we speak. That's either shared through social media, the different platforms. And most of these companies are from the Western countries, which are quite developed. And that have also in terms of also adoption of AI, and also from a legal perspective, they've been able to develop themselves. So they're now realizing that, Africa is a bit underdeveloped. They have weak legal frameworks, but they have the richest resource. It's people. And they're now using our platforms. There's been key concerns even in the country right now around big tech regulation, cases of Meta being taken to court, even locally in the country. WorldCoin just the other day, KNHCR, the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, won a case against them because they came into Kenya promising people with a few peanuts in exchange for your biometric Irish data. The government is there getting their check, and they're just telling people now, go try your luck. So you'll find that because they have whatever they've been given. So you find that Africa is just like during the times of colonization, when the Western countries scrambled for Africa because it had its minerals and resources. Just like the same thing that's happening now. Africa has its people, it has the market for the people, the data, which is the fuel, and again, a corrupt government. And a good example is the case of WorldCoin. If you look at how the government really went about the ODPC, first saying no and then getting whatever they got, they silenced, the whole process went about. But independent civil organizations in partnership with KNHCR were able to win the case against WorldCoin on data protection in Kenya. So I would really say that the countries won't stop coming to Kenya, just like the same way we export our resources, likes of tea and whatever we produce best to the Western countries. We just like the same way we export our whatever we do to coffee and the rest. It's the same, they will come into Kenya. But then we ask ourselves, what are the guardrails from the government perspective? Do we have the frameworks on how, when they come to Kenya, how do they operate? We've a good case precedent of the social media platform is TikTok. It went all the way to even the president mentioning that TikTok will have an office in Kenya, just as a means to ensure that they're able to regulate how they do their operations in Kenya. But this is because after citizens of Kenya petitioned TikTok in parliament because of all the negative things that are happening, despite being a good social media platform, and even getting to the level the government was like, TikTok is helping us, but the damages happening in Kenya are quite vast, and there's something we can do. So I feel just like we export resources and whatever we export to the Western countries, they will come to scramble for data, and which is now the fuel for this digital age, and which is now being characterized as the intelligent age. So what can we do so that ethically we can be able to build along, so that again we have a lot of opportunities in Kenya? How do we ensure we have ethical development, responsible deployment, and ethical regulation, so that our MPs will not bring bills and enactments that just favor them, but at the expense of the common mwananchi who is left at the mercy of just getting 7,000 shillings at the sale of their Irish and biometric data by WorldCoin and others. So there's more we can do. Yes.
All right. Now, Alo, should the youths be worried because they are the majority users of social media and all these platforms, and apparently the tech companies are feeding on their data? Should they be worried because this is something that probably the national intelligence is also using for, let me say, good reasons, and to ensure there is a security in the country, but then there is breach of privacy and all that. So should the youths be worried on how they consume the social media?
Actually, before I answer that, I just want to weigh into what my colleague was saying. While I'm not an expert in information technology, there's one key concern that really bothers me. Well, technology is making things better and improving our lives, but we also have to criticize ourselves. As technology progresses, let ethics be its guiding principle, setting its directions and boundaries. Yes, technology can be beneficial, but can also be disastrous, especially if there are no clear regulations. We have AI, we have the digital space, but we also have a growing level of misinformation. The fake visuals that really maybe can be used, they can resort into what I can term maybe cyberbullying. So we also need to be self-critic enough to ensure that we use AI for the good it is, and not to enhance some form of digital anarchy. Because I can say that the digital space is widening, but so are also the harms that come with it. So that is where I support regulation. Any regulation that tend to protect citizens from digital harm is right, as long as it is not used again to suppress the expression of freedom of expression of citizens. There's a lot going on, especially to do with the personification, cyberbullying, manipulation of data, which also, for those who do not do fact check, they are misled into making some decisions that are inaccurate. So let this information era, let this digital progress be accompanied by ethics and wisdom, so that it can be used to better humankind and its environment. Yes, back to your question as to whether the youth should be worried. Personally, I am always, and I tend to be very cautious while using AI, because I know I am aware of the information concerning collection of data. First, I think it's unethical, because that should happen with consent. And when you collect an information of individuals without consent, that I think it in itself is unethical, and it's being done by tech companies without consent, that should be looked into. So I want to tell the youth that sometimes they overindulge themselves into AI and this digital space, putting in everything about them, such that their information lay bare there, that to even unnecessary parties. So use AI for what it makes it beneficial, and I don't think it is wise to overindulge yourself. And more so, let there be regulations and restrictions even to the tech owners from collecting unnecessary data, and for using our data for purposes that maybe to their own benefit, but without our consent. So I think, yes, it's an alarm. It's something
They should be careful.
They should be careful.
All right.
Yes.
I have heard of situations where personal data is collected, and this is using biometrics, either the face, your eyes, and you can be monitored. Especially this is by the National Intelligence Service, that is NIS, where a camera can notice how you walk, your activities, where you went. Whereas this is good for, detecting patterns of crime and ensuring that there is security. Do you think this is, okay, it is unethical, yes, but how can the young people protect themselves from being prey to such, should I call it threats?
Yes.
How can they make themselves safe?
Actually, just before he answers, you remember there was an occasion where people were streaming into KICC. There was that thing, people they're collecting data on
WorldCoin,
you can remember the WorldCoin thing. Up to date, there is no clear information. And some people are scared what was the information meant.
What their data is used for. So Ken, how should we protect ourselves? Let me get your sentiments on that.
Oh, great. Before I respond to that question, it's a very critical question. Critical in that if you look at one of the leading newspapers today, its headline talks of a lady who in the past, by the name Mary Wachuka,
that is Daily Nation,
who in the past was exposed having a deal with the government. And in this case, the government was procuring from her and her team a spyware software for the purposes of surveilling our people and the youths. Well, for best reasons known to the government as we build up to the 2027 election and why they are so bold on whatever they want to do. And it has ended up with her passport being revoked and she can never come back to Kenya. So that's again centers around the discussion was we're talking today of silencing the youths both physically and digitally in different ways. So now I circle back to your question. NIS, if you look at the Kenyan Constitution, it's been given that mandate. It's the only institution in Kenya that has been given the mandate by the Constitution to engage the various telcos, in this case like Safaricom, Airtel and the rest, as we've put it across for the purposes of tracking on any digital fraud engagements. But the government that we have and the history that we've seen is that they misuse their power. And that's why there have been a lot of concerns that most of the youths who either end up being abducted, who end up dying, or just vanishing in thin air, their last scene is the digital trail. So it takes us back to one from the Constitution perspective, who has that mandate and power.
And who is it protecting?
And who is it protecting? So you go back to the Constitution and realize that the only person who has that power constitutionally is the NIS, and they can engage the different telcos for what they refer to as the CDR records, like the call data records, more information if they need about your financial and all that, financial statements and all that. But the country that we're living in, those powers have been misused. And that's why you even hear of cases of that, rumors here and there that police officers are able to spy people. Leave alone now the NIS. Police officers, you hear other rumors and other that cannot either be substantiated, that they're able to even track your day-to-day activities. Legally, that's not binding. But this raises a lot of concerns, and that's why even last year, rather the build-up to the 2025 bill, there was a similar approach, now to give KRA more power. You remember there was the clause on ensuring that KRA can now be able to access your M-Pesa and financial statements. But there was a lot of concerns and pressure, because if you have NIS that constitutionally has been given this power, and we are at a time where over 100 youths cannot be accounted for dead, and a president that has given more authority that shoot them, and what more could happen if KRA is given this power and it ends up either misusing. So you'll find that from there are a lot of concerns from people, how the surveillance is being done. And again, if you still on the same, a reporter or with one of the local dailies is still having an active case, when he decided now to engage, again, constitutionally as citizens, we are allowed to publicly ask, our institutions have that mandate to account for what they're doing. And in this case, it happened that this particular reporter wanted to probe from the different telcos, give us a public account of how you've been able to engage the NIS on this surveillance, who are the people, the requests you have received from them. Give us a public account, because constitutionally that's a mandate for any public institution. They should give a public report on whatever work they're doing. But he ended up having a case which is still active now. Well, again, a testament that the government will go to an extent if you question what they're doing. to silence you. The case is still in court. But then all this raises a lot of concerns to us as the youths, because again, we're building up to the 2027 elections. And historically, we coming from a 2022 election that was tech-driven, that promised transparency through digital technologies, but we ended up with opaque and many other things. Now we're at this point where now we have more emergent issues that the government is trying to think they can suppress through intergenerational or whatever it is, calling people to come together. But then we look at the critical issues, we ask ourselves, what more? As we build up to the elections, the issues that we've seen, the inconsistencies with the 2022 elections, the boldness by those in power, not with no sign that you're going to leave this place.
All right. And now that we are still talking about elections, we are living in a generation of where we have a lot of algorithm manipulation and deep fakes. We have, and we witnessed in, I think, 2016, during US elections, where there was allegations that the elections was interfered with by Russians. And US is quite at a place when it comes to tech. So how do we ensure integrity in our elections in 2027 as Kenya? Because we saw something like a breach in the US. And we know, and it was just about email, someone sending emails and you click the email and all that. But for Kenya, we are more careless. We click everything. WhatsApp link, it's sent, you're clicking it. So how do we ensure that we are safe as a country?
Great. I'll build up on that by the time you are heading to the 2022 elections, maybe you heard of Cambridge Analytica in our context of Kenyan elections. But not many of us were really so keen on what Cambridge Analytica, or in whichever way, what were its contributions either to the elections, whether it was true or not. But now as a country, we are living now to the true times that, you can wake up one day and you don't have internet. You can wake up one day, your last seen, you cannot be traced where you are because you just vanished in thin air. We are living at times that things we used to hear in other countries that you can just wake up one day, there's no TV broadcast. So we are now moving beyond just what the fears we used to have with the digital spaces, that the government or the people in place can leverage any kind of strategy to achieve the agenda, but we are already now living it. Again, for the last 1 year, we've seen a whole sustained efforts in different ways, and this raises a lot of concerns. We're heading to the 2027 election. We have just an IBC that has just been constituted, and the first statement it's given us is about a double standard revelation of a double standard, I would say a double standard accountability system, in that voting is not just going on the voting day and just voting. In a previous ruling by the former CJ Maraga, he mentioned that voting is a process. And coming from all the digital inconsistencies we've had in 2022, we now have a new IBC. It has made its first announcement that, because I would look at it this way, my democratic right as a citizen is that I can wake up one day during elections and vote. And if the decision that I made on the polling booth along the journey before the next election does not satisfy me, or I feel betrayed by the person I voted, or I feel they are incompetent, I should have that mechanism, a way to recall them. And the first revelation from the IEBC is that, we have a system in the parliament that has an accountability system for the lesser people, the MCAs, but for us, we are immune. Okay, that's okay. But then for me, I would be more concerned to look at, as we move forward, we are in the digital-driven era. What is your digital roadmap moving forward? We are not going to the Stone Age. We are now in the digital era. We are looking at concerns of misinformation, disinformation, manipulation, even voter stuffing, how all this can be done through electronically, either to manipulate voter disengagement or the voters' results. So what is your roadmap moving forward? We have maybe by-elections coming up. We have all the demands we've had as youths, the systemic injustices. We've taken stock of what happened in the 2022 elections and what has happened in other countries. And a good example is the elections that just took place in Nigeria. Its electoral system, the digital system, all the issues that emanated. Are these issues going to happen again in Kenya? And then we're a bit more bolden and to realize that that could happen, because if initial fears that we had of the digital spaces and government censorship and attempts to silence dissent are already happening, then what more can happen? As we head to the elections, are we going to have what we call what is a transparent and credible election in this digital age, as we have the new IEBC in place? So that's a key question we're asking ourselves as we look at the various loopholes from misinformation. As maybe we've heard the IEBC mention there'll be new proposals. Are those proposals going to incorporate some of these concerns? Because if not, then we've seen in the past a government that can use the loopholes, like now the Cybercrime Act, to prosecute its people. A Data Protection Act that has weak points such that anyone can wake up and say anything and they're not prosecuted.
All right.
So there's a lot of concerns as we head to the elections, and that's why there's some bit of mistrust with the IEBC, but we hope they'll be able to rebuild their trust as we move along, because for us as youths, we're not just looking at going to the voting booth and just casting my vote and that's it. No.
Okay. Now, Alo, as we bring this to an end, because my director is telling me muda wetu umeyoyoma, how then can the youths ensure accountability when it comes to elections?
In fact, I was listening to my colleague here, and just one thing I wanted to maybe remind us is that I know while technology can ensure integrity, systems are as good as people that control them. That is what I've witnessed in the past. In our election journey, the election of journey of Kenya has been marred by a lot of betrayals in the altar of power. Look at from the 2007 bloodbath to the 2013. We talked about irregularities and illegalities, and yet we had introduced the technology. Then we talk about the 2017 annulment of the election by the Supreme Court. Talk about 2022. The commission divides into two, the Cherera form, and we talk about forms, systems crashing, mismatch of forms. You remember the Form 34A and Form 34B disparities. Yes, so however much we can talk about, we have leveraged on technology to ensure that there is electoral integrity. It is as good as the people who control it. Let us not lie to each other that there is a system somewhere that will operate devoid of any legality or irregularity, if the people at the center of it have other wishes, or when they sense that the outcome may not favor them. Because the problem we've had is the opaqueness of our systems. The technology that is meant to enhance us is actually becoming a source of confusion. Yes, and also we are also facing impunity of the electoral officials who cannot even be prosecuted. Failure to open servers. You see, these things, when they are not addressed, the country cannot move forward. And I'm telling you, towards the 2027 election, if IBC don't do some radical changes, they are not going to join this election as neutral referees, but they are just going to join there as suspects that are already on trial on the public court of opinion. So let the systems know that we are aware. We cannot be lured by sweet words of technology here and there, and we are checking at the integrity of the people who are involved. And this really rests on their shoulders. Yes.
All right. Now, Ken, I'll give you a minute to give us your final thoughts on this conversation.
Thank you. As the youths of this and the future generations, we are not waiting to be included. We're here to advocate and push for reforms to the systems that are in place. They will attempt to silence us. We'll build parallel systems, and the future will speak for itself.
All right. That's a bold take. Alo, your final take.
Yes, I want to say that one thing I want to say is that the youths have reached an age where they are not ready to be called the leaders of tomorrow. They are the conscience of today. The youths have the will, they have the capacity, and they are willing to be engaged. The youths are intelligent and they are backed by data. So, to the gatekeepers of power, be aware that you are dealing with an informed generation that only seeks transparency, accountability, and truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us this morning. At this point, we are going to take a short break. That has been the discussion around youth, technology, and trust. If you missed any bit of it, you can always follow it up on our social media platforms. These will be posted on our YouTube and across our platforms. That is on X at KUTV Kenya, and also you can follow up with our guest, Ken. I think it's Ken, just your name. Just tell us where they can follow you from.
I'm accessible from all different platforms, mainly on LinkedIn and Twitter by my full name, Kennedy Kamande. Happy to engage, happy to build as we're building alongside civically, and also happy to engage. Thank you.
All right. Hello.
Allow Danish everywhere on all social media platforms, and also my articles and books, you can access them on Google just by googling Allow Danish. Yes.
Allow Danish, that is it. So you can also follow up with our guests to get more insights, because the conversation about youth, technology, and trust is quite huge. If you need to engage with them personally, you can always follow them on their respective social media platforms. At this point, we are taking a very short break. We'll be back with the State of Our Nation, that is the newspaper review, with Blue Smile Hassan and our very own Ojwang Mariam. See you then.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mukwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
Miti miti, panda panda. Our planet's future is in our hands. However, there is a threat to the brightness of this tomorrow. On Earth Check, we share the challenges, the solutions, and the hope.
I would call this a very momentous day, a very critical day.
Every episode, Every story, every step we take creates a ripple. Join me, the environmentalist Emmanuel Kutosi, on KUTV every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and be part of Check. Welcome.
Mara nyingi usafiri huwa changamoto kwa watu wenye ulemavu, hususan wanapotumia magari ya umma kusafiri.
Most probably be a guy who is lifting me, and that is not very comfortable for me.
You've been carried like a sack of maize, like a sack of potatoes, but you've got no option.
This solution is actually inspired from a personal experience. When I was 6 years old, my dad got into an accident and he became paraplegic and is now fully reliant on a wheelchair.
Hata hivyo, mwanga wa matumaini unaonekana kuchomoza miale. Juhudi za washikadau kama vile Diamond Gatura za kutafuta suluhu ya usafiri zikiwa manufaa kwa mamia wanaoishi na ulemavu. Jiunge nami Steven Masha Ijumaa hii saa 12 jioni na saa 3 usiku kwa ufahamu zaidi kuhusu usafiri jumuishi.
From the hospital corridors, we bring you experts to discuss issues affecting your health, from diet to mental health. The familiar and the ignored are both put into perspective. We then dive into the environment and look at the effects of climate change and its solutions. Join me, Mutegi K. Martin, every Friday at 9 p.m. as we learn on how to better our health while taking care of our environment. Only on KUTV.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepopa si vuguvugu, pepopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
In a world where uncertainty rules and opportunities are scarce, it's time to break from the barrier and unlock your full potential.
We must live within our means. We cannot spend money that we don't have.
We will explore the fascinating world of investment, trade secrets, business strategies, and entrepreneurship.
Sasa challenges ziko mingi sana. Parking ya mzigo imekuwa mbaya. Unaweka pesa yako inakataa kurudi.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, what you covered with invaluable insights to help you succeed.
Now, this year we have seen a rebound in the economy, which is well above the global average of the 3%.
Join me, ANYANGO SYLVIA, every Sunday and Monday on KUTV News at 9, and let's turn your dreams into reality.
Get Get ready to embark on a journey into the exciting world of technology as we uncover the latest trends, interview top thought leaders, and dive deep into the world of tech like never before.
Currently, we are facing the challenge in terms of finance. It requires one to move from different counties because we really need a large data set for our model to be more accurate.
In this new and exciting series of the Technovation Show, join me, Yvonne Kimuma, every Monday 8:30 p.m. for a fun and thrilling experience as we explore the cutting-edge developments, meet visionaries driving change.
Somebody who is in the underground mine doesn't know the presence of those gases. So there are a lot of gases involved. There is methane, there's carbon monoxide, and there's also hydrogen sulfide. These gases actually, they are very dangerous and they're very toxic.
And discover the endless possibilities of the tech world.
All right. Welcome back. This is KUTV Rise Today, Biashara Tuesday, and right here in studio, I'm joined by very energetic gentleman. That is Biosmail Hassan and Ojwang Mariam. Gentlemen, karibuni sana on the broadcast.
Asante.
This is KUTV Biashara Tuesday, and today, naona mmeniwarn.
Hatuja kuwarn. We are your brothers. We are your brothers. We love you. We want it to put it out clear. My name is Ojwang Mariam. If you are interested in Sylvia, when tunafanya mambo ya bride price na hizo vitu zote, tutakuwa hapo hivyo tukibagain. We've seen our girl grow. There are levels we can't kubali uende chini in terms of value. That's why we keep telling you, isn't it? I mean, award winning, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Before I get nikuwe flattered nianze kuchora chini. Allow me to get our viewers on board. This is newspaper review. We are going to talk about several stories that are given prominence on these headlines that you're having with us this morning. We have The Standard, we have Daily Nation, and we have The Star. If you look at all these newspapers, they are having really different stories as the headlines. That means stories don't align this morning. We have The Standard, The Star. The headline they're having this morning is Audit and Arts Payslip Crisis in Public Sector, a different thing from what is given on the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation is talking of a State House spy software dealers, passport revoked, and The Standard is talking about Jogo House wars. So we'll be going step by step, a newspaper at a time, and tutachambua stories moja kwa moja. So let's begin with The Star. I believe most of you are lacking this newspaper, but I'll just give the headlines. If it rings something, we'll do it. If it doesn't, we'll ask our viewers to get a copy. It's Tuesday, so the Tuesday is free, and it's always having the MyGov document, which you get to get government tenders. There's one thing that is reading about government tenders, and it's another thing to get the tenders. So The Star this morning, Audit and Arts Payslip Crisis in Public Sector, and it says that employees are going home with less than a third, and this is because most of them are having loans, and then on top of loans there is deductions. There is SHA, there is affordable housing levy. There are several levies: SHA, SHIF, NSSF. We have housing levy. We have also, at the end of the day, the employees go home with less than a third of their gross pay, which is unconstitutional. But at the moment, and this lady, this Auditor General, she's really vocal. She's among the few people who are doing their job. Ukiongeza na LSK president.
Madam Faith.
Yeah, Madam Faith. The women who are doing great jobs in the public sector. So, does this ring alarm?
It does. And as a society, it still narrows down to us. We don't have goodwill as a people. whether it's the government, employers, brothers, sisters, everyone. We don't have goodwill as a people. If you look at countries that are doing well in terms of civic engagement and civic awareness, it's not because of the government. It's because of them as a people. That we as a people, we have financial discipline. First, we have financial discipline. So that nikipata 100 leo, I can budget it. Na ingie kwa budget. That is us lacking discipline and goodwill to learn that discipline, let's say financial literacy. But in those countries we call civilized, they are doing that and they have that. It's being cultured into their kids right from the age of 3. Mimi hata nangangana naanza at the age of 7 kwanza kufunza mtoto financial literacy. But there are things we are supposed to be taught kutoka huko tukiwa wadogo. At a time katoto kanaanza kulia, kwa supermarket, nataka hii chocolate. Unaanza kukafunza. Hii chocolate inatoka wapi? Then you come to Africa and you get, we have people born from two sides of the coin. Wanasemaga haves and haves not. Ule wa side ya haves atafunzwa financial discipline. Akisha kuwa mkubwa, utapata kuna millionaire. Bado atatoka kuwa millionaire na akue maskini. Is it because hakufunzwa financial discipline? No, ni juu ya goodwill. So, sisi kama a people, society ya Kenya, tunakosa goodwill na discipline. Alafu sasa gava inaharibu zaidi. Juu gava iko na zero goodwill na zero financial discipline. Imagine unalipwa leo, unakatwa 16%. Hiyo ni VAT, value added tax. Hapana, pay kwanza. After pay unakatwa VAT. Ukishakatwa VAT unatoa rent. Nataka tuangalie wewe unabaki na nini. Unatoa rent. Ukishatoa rent unatoa za sako. Kuna mahali unakuaga na sako. Si umesema kuna loans according to the star. Kuna mahali kuna sakos. Ukishamaliza hizo vitu zote unabaki na 30%. Unapata kitu inaitwa black tax. Now, black tax kwa watu wenye ni ma firstborns huko nje. Black tax inapandaga na wewe ni born gani kwa familia yenyu na how empowered are you. Na umebaki na 30%. Unatolea mokoro hii. Kama mko brothers wawili, watatu, wanne, kila mtu anakuhitaji. And then mistake ikue, you are what the society figures out as empowered. Unajua mtu empowered according to society ni gani? Mtu ameenda university, akagraduate, akapata degree. Imagine umegraduate, umepata degree first class honors, uko Kitengela unavuta mkoko, unauzia watu maji, na kwenye home wanakungojea uwasaidie, na uko na 30% hapa hivi akakusaidia. Goodwill gava inahitaji na financial discipline.
Alright.
Walituambia kuhusu bottom up, si ndio? Inafaa itoke pale juu, ikishuka kutoka kwa President Ruto kwenda chini. Goodwill.
Alright. Lismal, does this raise alarm?
Of course it does raise alarm, and we are having a similar conversation with Ojwang as we were looking into the newspapers just before we came on board to the show, and the conversation was you can actually not solely depend on your salary, because probably it is overtaxed, and the government has good reasons according to them, because the taxman will come and tell you why we are taxing this, why this is not tax, this is a levy, why we should have this or this. But again, it comes to us as the workers now, because we actually depend, most of us, which is a very bad direction that we're taking. Most of us depend on our salaries. But when we come to financial literacy, we say that probably do not depend on your salary alone, because in the event that your salary delays, it means that you're actually financially incapacitated. And we have many mouths to feed. Most of us are breadwinners. The breadwinning nowadays does not even depend on the age. You can actually be a breadwinner, and then there's the black tax that is talking about. So we, as a Kenyan, leave alone the government. Even if the government does not tax your salary, you are actually overburdened as long as you earn something in the country. So I think we should actually take it upon ourselves that we start other things. And even as those people who are saying that let's start businesses, the business world is not even friendly. The business environment is not friendly, because it comes back to the taxation, frustration, there's witch hunt, and people maybe might be jealous, and there's the prejudice. So you just need to be a survivor in Kenya for you to actually
All right, hasara atawale. All right. Now, still on the star, we have parental consent policies fueling teen pregnancies, and they are giving a story of ladies of 18 years and below, whenever they go to chemists or health facilities to get contraceptives, they're sent back home that enda leta mzazi. You know, something cannot be done to you without a parent consent. Yeah. From where I sit, I'm a traditional person when it comes to morals. So from where I sit, I feel like letting young girls of a younger age going to the hospitals and getting contraceptives at a younger age, it only encourages them to engage in, you know, please don't come for me. No, engage in immoral activities. Yeah, so if a young girl of 14 years knows that if I go mess up, I can just go over the counter, get medicine, and I'll be fine. Or I can just go get P2. I can, you know. From where I sit, I feel like if this law or it's allowed for young people to get contraceptives at a younger age without their parents' consent, it's only going to encourage more immorality. John, from where you sit, what do you think?
Let me sit as a father so that I can understand you better. But I understand you. Kuongea ukweli wa Mungu. There is a BBC documentary that is up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how child sex trade is happening in Kenya's Mai Mahiu. Hapa tu.
It's not only in Mai Mahiu. If just so you know, in the estates, like Madare, you'd get a mother goes and sells herself and analetea msichana wake pia. Like they both do the business, and it's the men who got there, they are thrilled with the fact that, you know, I can get the kuku and the kifaranga and also ndogondogo, you know, the ndogondogo narrative. It thrills men because they know that they go there and it's 300 bob and you get both the chicken and the kifaranga.
Now this ndogondogo narrative in Mai Mahiu, you know, we're talking about Mai Mahiu because the whole world, nilisikia watu wakisema sana Ojwang is bold, Ojwang is honest. So huwa nataka kuongea na vitu ziko factual mahali I can send someone there in case I ever get abducted. And in that documentary, our watoto ni 13 years. Among them are orphans, total orphans. They don't know who to ask consent from. My daughter can run to me, but at that moment, they had no one. The one who is taking advantage of them is not a man. It's an older woman and the name of Madam. That is the person who is supposed to give this child consent. I heard the interviewer, one of the investigative journalists, ask her, how about protection? How do you approach that issue? And she said she's responsible of giving the male counterpart, the perpetrator, the tool that is supposed to help the girl. How? So what we need, especially as a growing country, we need to be more educated. SRHR education should be available to everyone, not from class 6. Class 6 we started learning about tumechile and all those things, not from class 6. David was anointed king at age 7. It is said in the society that women grow and develop at a higher rate than men. So if David, the boy at 7, is becoming a king, what can a girl at 7 be? If she can be that, then she's ready to know herself. As anaenda akijijua, anaenda akipata SRH, sexual reproductive health and right awareness and education. So that anaweza jipata mahali amerepiwa, anajua what to do. without kuenda tu kwa polisi and then unarudishwa. It doesn't encourage immorality. It encourages self-awareness. It encourages such conversation that will spark something in parents' mind and start taking more responsibility of their children and not leaving that in the hands of authorities like police stations or hospitals, or who else can give such consent, or the judiciary.
All right. Now, still, this is a very important conversation because right now, children are home. It's they are for like a month at home, and still on the Star, we are having a story of defilement. That story is on page 3. Long road to justice for girl 8 defiled by a 65-year-old man, and this guy had worked for 2 years with the family, and the mother left, and then this is mostly to parents who normally say that, mimi msichana mdogo hawezi nifanyia kazi, I prefer having an older woman, or I prefer having someone who is of old age. And now this is a 65-year-old man who defiled an 8-year-old child. Let me say child. And it's important because children are at home right now, and the parents tend to leave the responsibility of care to the nannies, to the house helps, to the shamba boys. They tend to, trust, because, we've lived together, you are like family. And these days, even uncles are not a safe space for the young people. And I normally insist that it's not only the girl child that is at risk, the boy child is also at risk. Bluesman, I'd love to get your sentiments on the current rising cases of teenage pregnancy and defilement.
First of all, I would like to go back to the question you asked Ojwang on this, if who is supposed to give the go-ahead when maybe a young person has gone to look for these contraceptives. Yeah. So I'll speak as a Gen Z, coming from the university. I'll say that, of course, they're 18 and above, and no one really, there's no need of consent. But I think we need to have this conversation, even to maybe the 16 years old and stuff. Because right now, maybe engaging in intercourse is no longer something that we really need to be scared of, because it is happening. And we can actually not maybe protect these people in such a way that we can actually tell them maybe to avoid this thing, because with the internet, as much as it gives us political awareness, but it exposes them to different levels, and you do not know what these people are exposed to. So sometimes it might be hard, but with continuous and vigorous education, we can actually tell them on safer ways. It's not like when we are teaching them safer ways, it does not mean that we are actually maybe promoting in immorality. And when we start teaching them safer ways as early as 15, so that they can understand these are some of the things that when you get yourself in this situation, this is some of the things that you need to do, we will actually be solving this teenage pregnancy thing. Because from my point of view, I think that we are living in the people who actually, as much as we are condemning this issue, but we are outdated, or we're not dealing with this situation with current problems. Because the issue of teenage pregnancies, instead of us telling them to maybe use contraceptives, the word is actually contraceptives. Then the guys, you're telling them to abstain. Like, as in you're not solving this problem, but you're telling them to abstain. They will not probably abstain. So deal this problem with modern solutions. Give a modern solution to these issues. Okay, the issue of because of time, the issue of our sisters, our young sisters staying at home, and probably there are a lot of sexual predators out here who they do not actually have confidence in going for people their age, people ripe enough. They want to take advantage of young people. Probably, they actually messed up people. For real, they just messed up people. For if they can get that to that extent of taking advantage of small children, they actually messed up people. And we actually do not have to negotiate with them, and let's not make it as if the problem is with our young girls. The problem is with the defilers. The problem is and we need to make sure that those laws that are there are actually used as an example, so that when you get a case like the 60 years old guy who was defiled an 8 years, we need to have a task force or laws that will actually be enforced on them, and they'll serve as an example. Let's have examples on newspapers, like 60 years old man who defiled 8 years girl has been sentenced to maybe 8 years in prison. Those should be in the newspaper, not at a case. We are reporting a case, because it will be like, okay, we've just seen this case, and it might actually motivate someone. But when we see those sentences, the person who is actually thinking of defiling will be like, oi, this guy amekula 60 years in prison, and then ataogopa. So as in, it's all I think the problem is how we are dealing with these issues. Let's not deal with it as if we are dealing it in the 1960s, 1980s. This is 2025.
All right. Umesema sisi watu wa old morals to
Hapana, you incorporate. Mimi I incorporate.
All right.
You see, my mom ni generation iko hapo juu. I'm a millennial. My baby mama is a Gen Z. My daughter is a generation alpha. I have to be able to live with all
the generation.
Yeah. All right.
I have. So nilikuwa nasema kuhusu chenye yeye amesema.
All right. Blissmile amesema siku hizi asali zinafunguliwa mapema. The conversation should shift from abstain, kwa sababu asali itafunguliwa bado.
So unataka niseme. So amesema ripe age. Watu hataki kungojea ripe age, na nikajiuliza ripe age ni gani? Alafu akasema watu wakiangalia wataona 65 years. Nikakumbuka kwa TikTok niliona mtu akiuliza, na hii jela mtu anaweza choose ni jela gani? So kuna watu waogopi huko nje. That won't make them scared of that. To learn to kuwa good people.
All right.
Yeah, tusiangalia ati 65 years ndio inakushtua. Kuna mtu hata ashtuliwa na 65 years. Ni Gen Zs. Watu wanaenda maandamano wakiwa wameandika eulogy 65 years.
Lakini Gen Z hatuna hiyo tabia hiyo.
Tazeeka.
All right, let's shift the conversation now to a little bit of politics. It's on the Star, and they are talking about political baggage weighs down opposition 2027 bid against Ruto, and they're talking about the difficulty in finding the right flag bearer of the opposition party. In the last couple of days, we've also witnessed Sifuna's wave inachemka akisema mimi nitasoma as long as hawataniambia nisome naunga mkono Ruto. And it is something that is really in the political world. It is fueling tension, whether it is that he might be the new flag bearer, or the united opposition kina Gachagua will decide on the new
politics
flag bearer. So the question of flag bearer, tribal politics, and lack of charisma undermines the efforts. That is the efforts to unseat Ruto. Once again, it's a conversation on 2027 polls.
Yeah. The politics of Kenya. Kuna mtu aliniambia hapa hivi that it's funny. Alisema hivyo, kwanza nikakaa chini nikacheka.
I realize it's indeed funny.
Do you know, kutoka 2023 we have sung Ruto must go.
Naindi.
Hata wacha kuenda. We have been very vocal about it. One term. Sai kuna two term. Kuna vita ya one term, two term. One term, two term. Kitambo we had presidential flag bearers watu wataansitu Ruto. Mrara Kebaso. Inject party. Tukatoka hapo hivyo tukasema hapana. Huyo kijana huyo ni mkora sana. Vile anachangisha huyo. Ikiwa Ruto hakutuomba hivyo na anajenga kanisa za 1.2 billion na huyo, yeye akaondokea siasa. Okia Okoiti Omtata, Busia senator, elected on independent, comes up, very strong candidate, and I support. I can count the number of times maybe Nangure tumesema, well, huyu ni presidential fit sana, huyu hata tunaweza support. From Morara tukipanda, tunaona huyo tunasema, hey, inakaa kunatokea mwingine. Saizi tuko Emeritus David Maraga. Tunasema, hey, na huyu Emeritus ni kama kwa sawa. The former CJ Matiang'i, kila mtu anakuja anapigwa. Umeongea kuhusu charisma. The charisma kuongea ukweli wa Mungu is lacking. And Ruto is capitalizing on that to buy charisma from other sides. Nashuku Itumbe anatumia ChatGPT. So they support Chan. How are they supporting Chan? They buy all the tickets. By Art and Culture Monday ya before game yenye ilichezwa, tickets zote zilikuwa sold out. By the miss kwenda game, tickets zilikuwa tickets zilikuwa sold out, si ndio? Who bought the tickets? So tickets zinanunuliwa zote na gava, zinapewa loyalist huku chini. And then anaingia pale anasema, guys, all you have to do is win and you become a millionaire. Na vijana wetu wenye sisi tumeishi kuwa underdog. You know, Harambee Stars imeishi kuwa underdog kwa football. Kila mahali tunaenda tunalimwa, kila mahali tunaenda tunalimwa. Na shida wanasemaga ni gani? Ni baba. Baba akiwa hapo tunalimwa. Arsenal kama Ruto na baba wako inalimwa. So they had to appease to the gods of football. Manzee wametafuta mpaka coach kutoka Manchester United, South Africa, Benny McCarthy. Vijana wameambiwa utakuwa millionaire. Now imagine akina Austin Odhiambo from the ghettos. You're being told all you have to do is play hawa wa Congo. Don't think about how they won. They are two-time winners. Don't think about how they won. Just think about vile Rwanda na wao wako hapo hivyo wanatafuta gold. Can you go for that gold in your mind? Gold zinakuanga kama kamita hapo hivyo. The guys play and they play in red and Kenya wins. Who takes the glory? WSR 01 huku nyuma. PR at its best. But you see, Kenyans don't care who the president will be. They just want things to run. And if things are not running, then Ruto must go. Ruto must go is not a personal thing. Si yeye pekee, ni the whole system. Because Ruto must go ilianza, sijui Gachagua akatoka, Ruto must go haikuacha, AG akatoka, Ruto must go hakuwa. I'm sure saizi hata Ruto akienda na kuingia mwingine mbaya, we will continue the same thing. It's about the system. We need to overhaul this system. I'm happy that the opposition is fighting right now. It's 2026. We envisioned it and we talked about it on this set. If they are fighting today, will they be fighting by April 2027? We will be having someone. God will bring someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, bless me.
Of course, I'm really happy with the sentiments that Ojwang makes because at least it shows that the government is really working. Because he says that the Ruto must go is not that they actually do not want Ruto to go. They want things to work. No, so whoever comes, go. It's an improvement because they're actually sensing defeat, and it's normal. Because they have always accused our camp of sensing defeat, but right now they are feeling the heat. And this is how we say President Ruto is a professor of politics. And politics is a whole industry. Politics is not just coming to shout and chant one term, two term. Politics is dynamic. How to deal with dynamics. And this is how we say that there's no, many people say that there's no formidable opponent against President William Ruto, because even with all this one term, even the heat of Ruto must go in 2024. Ruto used to go to places and he could actually mobilize crowds, and people actually were asking, is Ruto actually unpopular? But of course he was unpopular, but he had that glue. He's a great mobilizer. And now with this heat of Chan, of course right now we have new millionaires, 42 millionaires in town. So in fact, a millionaire was talking to fellow millionaires in the dressing room, and you saw even the promise of affordable housing. So this is just the tip of this iceberg, because in 2027, just for the record, Cynthia, you're not a sports person, but there is AFCON. We'll be doing another Pamoja AFCON. And if you are actually keen, you'll see the constructions undergoing at the Talanta Stadium. And Talanta Stadium, when President Ruto used to say that we will have a stadium where Arsenal and Manchester United are playing, people actually said that, this is Jaba. And we actually saw the state, if give him his flower, you saw the state of Kasarani. the screens, the field. It was actually, you could actually think that
it's bare minimum.
No.
Can someone say that will be his only legacy?
No.
No.
Let me allow me to finish my thoughts. Right. That was just a renovation. Now we have a whole stadium, and I actually have a problem with Talanta Stadium being called Talanta Stadium. I think it should have been given William Ruto Stadium, just like we have in other countries. Like we have the Mandela Stadium in Uganda. Yeah, let's give you this. So as I finish up on this issue is they should not sense defeat. This is just the start, and there will be more coming. And let's all stand in solidarity. Let's us not see William Ruto, Chan as William Ruto, or Harambee Stars as William Ruto. Let us see Harambee Stars as our soldiers fighting for Kenya. And of course, the chief soldier is the commander-in-chief.
All right, my jaws are dropping, and because I cannot tell you have an opinion,
I'm begging. You see, everyone loves Harambee Stars, whether you are pro Ruto or not. We went there for Harambee Stars. Even others were there in spirit for Harambee Stars, not for WSR. We must agree on that. 2, gold, the finest, is always tested through fire. 3, amidst all chaos, the resilient ones emerge winners. 4, and the last one, the conversation of opposition, many people there confused on who will be, is a positive conversation. It means it's not actually just William Ruto who can be president. Maraga can be president. Matiang'i can be president. Omtata can be president. Everyone can be, Kalonzo can be president. Ojwang Mariam can be president. We are a community of leaders. Inaonyesha hatuna uhaba wa mapresidents.
Tuko na uhaba wa mapresidents.
Hatuna uhaba. Na hawa wote wenye wako hapa, one will be chosen.
Watapigana.
All right. Hakuna uhaba wa mapresident. I am on the Daily Nation here, and it's a conversation about State House spy. The guest who was here before said that NIS is given the opportunity to monitor our personal data for security purposes. And right now we have this lady here. I don't know if I should call her young lady, but the Kenya-Canadian Mary Washuka who has sued 4 senior government officials, including the head of public service and president's speechwriter, over a botched 123 million spying software deal, has protested that authorities have cancelled her Kenyan passport. She has linked the action to the high-stakes suit, alleging an attempt to twist her into dropping her claim. Apparently, the lady alikuwa amepewa tenda ya surveillance, and mkono wa serikali ni mrefu, so apparently imemfikia. And it is one of the things that the previous guests who are here say, that the government is trying to silence the progress that the youths have made in terms of digital representation and airing their views online, where one hashtag can turn to a revolution. So I want to get your text on that, because muda wetu umeyoyoma. So quick response on youth involvement in government, and also on government surveillance and how government handles opposition in terms of those who question their leadership.
There is fear and there is love. Those two things are powerful. Strongest leaders, they either use love or fear. So they sell you fear or they love you. That's how they become powerful. In this case, you are monitored since day one. Hata si day one. When you are just a fetus, your mom went to a health facility na akaanza jani ya vitu zinaitwa prenatal care. Wewe uko kwa system. By the time unazaliwa, akasema huyu msichana manze, one time atakuwa kitu kubwa huko KUTV, wacha tumuite SYLVIA ANYANGO. They select the name for you. Na iko mahali na wanakupea certificate, wanaita inaitwa birth certificate. So NIS hawajaanza kukutrack saizi yenye umeanza kupata email. They started from way back. So when you are aware of that, you have two choices: to live in love or to live in fear. If you live in fear, utaanza kusema wacha hata ni go dark. Hii serikali inatufuataga sana, naweza ihepa aje? Wacha ni go dark, sitaki mambo ya nini ishigi tu na katululu ama kaduda ndo wasijue. No, they will still know as long as you are using money, as long as ukitaka usijulikane hapa hivi, it means you go tradition. Hauwezi, because the system will know where you are. So just leave. Tukutane kotini, wewe mwenye hauna wanawakata upate passport, unaingia kotini, unapata justice. Kikosa justice, unaingia barabara, lakini usiogope.
All right.
In Jana, there was an arrest. Yeah, this content creator who was actually police. Another LADC FBI, the last one now, was arrested. And I don't think that we are selling fear, or the government is selling fear. I think the problem here is people are overdoing things. It is okay to criticize the government, and let it be on record, even the current administration was on the front line criticizing the previous government for its faults. And it is something normal to criticize the government when things are not working. And the president, he said that he welcomes criticism. He does not want sycophants. Of course, probably there are sycophants, but he said it during his first days in office. So I'm saying, whoever is pushing, they must go. Push it in a very good manner. The other day we saw some people going to form a parallel police military outfit, FBI. And then you expect the government not to arrest you. You see, there are some things that you actually do in the name of, mostly it's more of relevance and publicity. Because you just want the numbers, you want to be known, because there's a wave that you can actually take advantage of. You just tweet, someone puts an elected leader in a coffin, just because he wants clickbaits on X in the name of being a revolutionary. I mean, let's just be careful. Yes, criticize the government, but don't criticize it in a bad way. Today, just imagine, like, you are the one in office, and you probably, people are criticizing you, and then they put you in a coffin. They just, someone is talking about, going after your family. So just put yourself in your shoes. Of course, I usually say that some people here who are actually chatting one time, if they were the ones who are holding that sword of leadership, they would have done worse. So it is, a chief is always a man on a rope.
Let me just say, I will never understand you. And then let's move from that story, because we are closing this. I'll just give our viewers what they need to look out on the dailies. We have a story of Wazungu Mwitu, for lack of a better word. We have British soldiers' children. Mothers seek paternity recognition and aid. That story is on page 3 on the Daily Nation. And then we have the stories concerning the music festival that is ongoing currently in the country. That story, you can find it on Daily Nation on page 2. And on the standard stories to look out for, we have Jogoo House Wars, where silent but escalating power struggle is paralyzing the Ministry of Education. We have the PS and the CS, all of them talking different languages, from fee structures to if the education is free or not. So we've seen the PSS who appear to be stronger than the CS. That story, you can follow it up on page 4 of the Standard. And then we have from the Ministry of Trade, we have Hustler Fund, an economic sinkhole, where the civic society wants Hustler Fund scrapped, citing massive losses, high defaults, and claims of political misuse in a scathing new report. And apparently, in every 500 shillings given, 300 is never recovered in the Hustler Fund. And the civil society says that is a loss to the country. You can follow up on that story on page 6 of the Standard. Now back to my guest here. I'd like for you to give us your final remarks. Let me begin with the John.
Jogoo House Wars. There's a war that is happening in Ministry of Education. That is Cold War, and it's jeopardizing the state of education in our country. The only Migos I know in Kenya officially, CS Julius Migos Ogamba, is fighting with his 2 PSs. Why should Kenyans suffer because you are fighting? Why are we so selfish? Hii kama mmeshindwa nayo, mnaachana na kazi, mnaacha wengine wafanye, mnaenda home. Blue Smile atawaambia hivyo.
You see, one thing about the people who actually lean on the opposition, they usually look for fault everywhere. But anyway, let me leave them to be. So, my last word is our language of hope, because our nation, Kenya, is doing well in the Chan 2024 competition, and this tells us that we have not been given the hosting rights. Therefore, because that we are hosting nation, we actually deserve to be in this competition. And we can actually, on the Daily Nation, the Morocco coach has actually said that the battle between Kenya and Morocco, we are talking about military language. It's a battle now. It is according to the Moroccan coach, it's saying it will be a tough one. And of course, we know Morocco is among the people who actually anticipated to win this Chan competition. But
they took the chance 2018 when Kenya was to host, and they hosted the same Chan.
Yeah, but look at the language of the coach, saying that it is going to be a tough competition. We are having a battle of some people fighting for millions, fighting to become millionaires, and people fighting for glory. We actually, we are more of this is capitalism. So I wish Team Kenya all the best, and I believe Team Kenya, if it will not get the 600 million rewards that President Ruto has promised, it will get the quarterfinals. I actually predict that Kenyans will get to the quarterfinals. Yeah.
All right, let's leave it at that. Just to remind our viewers, there was we were talking about the Ministry of Health, and this is the Standard. We also have the same story. Varsities VCs protest cause fee cuts as debt soar to 85 billion. So you can also follow that story on the Standard. That is on page 5. And just to remind you, Blue Smile, that we don't write this newspaper. We just read what we
exactly. Thank you.
I'm not saying that, but as in the way he has talked about it in terms of people are fighting Kenyans, but it was, in fact, when you read the story, it is not even something recent. They just backdated it. They're just going back, a flashback.
Please allow me to read the headline. Just read it yourself. Let that be your last line.
That's the headline.
Read the headline of the Standard. It's written today.
But get into the
Jogo House Wars, a silent but escalating power struggle is paralyzing the Ministry of Education, where Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba is being openly contradicted by his 2 principal secretaries, who seem too powerful, from fee guidelines to ghost schools questioning who really controls the education agenda. It's on page 4. They don't know who controls the education agenda.
No, that's
all right. Our time is up. Let's smile. Now that brings us to the end of Biashara Tuesday. Muda wetu umeisha, our viewers. We'll continue this discussion, God willing, in the upcoming discussion that is next Monday or next Tuesday, right here on Rise Today KUTV. From me, it's bye from the whole team Biashara Tuesday. See you next week.
Wanasema kwamba Bwana ataleta maadui zako kwa macho yako na waibishe. Amen. Kuna pepo mbaya ambayo imeinuka, pepo ya chuki, na huyu pepo tunajua ni nani amemtuma, ni Lucifer. Lucifer is been 2000 years ago, na utaki kukua. Can't you be ashamed? Wakina Baphomet, watoto wadogo wamekuja juzi, na wanawake na kina Jay-Z, shame on you. Walitudharau wakifikiria tuwezi ongea Kifaransa. Ça va bien, comment ça va? Bonjour, coupé, kibomba.